So binomial expansion is the next thing that we want to go over. I want you to look at these two websites to research Pascal's triangle and binomial expansion. It's probably going to give you a little bit more than what we're going to talk about, but I want you to look at how Pascal's triangle is formed and then how it relates to binomial expansion. So take a minute to look at those websites and then come back to this. If we were to continue on, if I were to say to you to take x plus y squared, y'all know that that would mean we FOIL. We FOIL it quickly, it's not that hard. Even if I had said do x plus y to the third power, we would have to multiply it out 3 times, which means we would FOIL 2 of them. I typically FOIL the last 2. Then you'd have to take that remaining x plus y and you'd have to distribute the x, distribute the y, and then combine like terms. That's still not that hard. But once you get into over, say, the third power, once you get to the fourth, fifth, sixth power, that's just too much to have to multiply out, and it's going to take you forever. So what you would find in the website is that Pascal's triangle will give you the coefficients to binomial expansion. So we've got Pascal's triangle here, and Pascal's triangle just continues on forever. This is not something you memorize because you can create it every time. What you have to remember is the 1, 1, 1 at the top, because from there every row starts and ends with 1, and the numbers are just the sum of the 2 above it. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Here 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 1 is 3, so forth and so on. So if I were to actually ask you to evaluate x plus y to the 6th, we're going to use Pascal's triangle. What you do is whatever power you're using or that you need, you're going to go to that number row. Not the 6th row, but the 6th row. This right here, that's the 6th row because there's where the 6 is. So we're going to take those and we're going to write those as coefficients. Then what we're going to do, let's continue on down. Then we're going to put in the variables. Now, x was the first variable, so it's going to start as to the 6th power and decrease. Y was the second variable, so it's going to start with nothing, but then increase in exponents. So notice that the x, it goes x to the 6th, to the 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1, none. With y, we start with nothing, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Simplifying it, we write it like this, and that is our answer. Now, let's look at a couple more examples and see what happens when you start throwing some different things in there. For instance, now it's not just a y, it's a 2y. Well, you're still going to start with the coefficient, so you're going to go to the 5 row, not the 5th row, the 5 row. If you go back up to Pascal's, that's this one here because that's where the 5 is. Okay. So let's come down here again. So we write out our coefficients. We have the 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. Then we put in our variables. So the x, which is first, that's going to start to the 5th power. So x to the 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1, none. The second term, it's not just y, it's 2y. So you start with none, but then notice you have the 2y all to the 1, 2y all squared, all to the 3rd, all to the 4th, all to the 5th. So when you evaluate, the first term is just x to the 5th, but the second term here, when you have 2 to the 1 power, that's 2 times 5 is 10. Then you have 2 squared, which is 4, times 10 is 40. 2 to the 3rd is 8, times 10 is 80. 2 to the 4th is 16, times 5 is 80. 2 to the 5th is 32. And the variables x and y, they increase and decrease as we stated above. With the last one, I'm going to let you kind of look through it, and I'm only going to say one thing. What's different here is that you have a minus in the binomial. So don't worry about the minus sign as you're putting in the coefficients and evaluating the exponents. At the end, once you start combining all your like terms, so like the 3 times 4 is 12, 9 times 6 is 54, and so forth. Anytime you have a minus in the binomial, what's going to happen is your answer is going to start with plus, and then it's going to alternate minus. So you have plus, minus, plus, minus, plus. And it just alternates as many times as you have terms. Your homework is going to be on this next page. You got 5 problems and you're just going to use Pascal's triangle to evaluate. It's also called expansion, so sometimes I may say expand or evaluate. It means the same thing, but that is your homework, so you can complete that and get it back to me.